Hello everyone and welcome to Crafting with Delonda. It's me again, Delonda, and thank you so much for joining me today. It is time for us to have another little chit chat, and the purpose of this talk is to help new crafters and even some seasoned crafters with 10 additional things that I wish I had known before I got started crafting. This is not going to be any kind of fancy video with editing or any of that. I will pause the video when I need to pause it, and I will come back and continue with my thoughts. I have taken some notes, and so hopefully you're going to find this helpful. If you do, at the end of this video, please remember to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell for notifications because I do upload new content every single week. Now, without further ado, let's get into the list. Number one on my list, and I have said this multiple times, and I'm going to continue to say it until I take my very last sleep. You need a craft journal. As a crafter, it is going to be very, very important that you take notes, that you, as you're learning a new craft or a new skill, that you take notes along the way. You might write down times and temperatures. You might write down the video you watched. You might write down the title. You might make a list of the materials you need. No matter how you decide to use the craft journal, so there's a truck going through my neighborhood. No matter how you decide to use the journal, you're going to need a journal. And I wish I would have known this when I first got started. This is just a stack of just different journals that I've tried. Some I purchased, some I made. That's going to be a matter of personal preference. The style of the journal doesn't matter as much as the contents of the journal. Now, as I've been on this crafting journey, I realized that what I should have been doing all along is not just having a craft journal, but having like a journal specifically for specific materials. And the most successful journal that I have at this time is the one that I use for rhinestones. So everything that's in this journal is about rhinestones. It's about the templates. It's about color combinations that I like. It's about, the size. It's about everything specific to rhinestones. And that's been very helpful because I'm not searching through journals trying to find my rhinestone templates or trying to see what colors I liked or what colors I need. And I even added like tabs on the side to help me get to specific places. So if you don't already have a journal and you're going to start one after watching this video, my suggestion is that you kind of categorize. Maybe you have a journal that's specifically for vinyl, and you have a journal that's specifically for rhinestones. You have a journal that's specifically for sublimation. You have a journal that's specifically for any other craft that you are interested in getting started with. You might even have a journal that's just about materials and, the inventory that you have, so you know what you already have on hand and things that you might need to purchase. All right, let's move on to number two. Tip number two, do your research before purchasing any machine. And really tip number 2 and 3 kind of go hand in hand, because if you just purchase the cheapest machine you can afford, remember it's going to be the cheapest for a reason. So that's tip number 2. If you have decided I'm going to get, let's say for example, you're ready to get started with sublimation and you've decided I'm just going to purchase the cheapest sublimation printer I can find. Okay, so let's go with that. If you go with that, and let's say you find one for, $175, just know that that printer is the cheapest for a reason. It might have limited abilities or capabilities. You might, be only able to print when the printer is connected to Wi-Fi, or you might have to have it directly connected. Like, it's going to come with some limitations. So know the limitations in advance if that's the route you're deciding to take. Okay, and then let's say if you are in the market for a Cricut, right? You're going to get your very first Cricut cutting machine, and you decided that's the machine you want to use as your vinyl cutter. Just know that if you get the cheapest Cricut, that would be a Cricut Joy, and you will definitely be limited in what you can do with that machine. And what I have found is that when you go that route in terms of buying the cheapest one, because it has so many limitations, you actually end up spending more money because very quickly you realize the limitations, and then you want to purchase, the next best or a better quality machine, and you end up spending more money. So the money that you spent on the cheapest actually ended up costing you money because now you need another machine. So be careful about doing that. Number three, like I said, number two and number three kind of go hand in hand. Just know that as you're crafting or you're getting into, learning how to craft, just know, let's just go with a Cricut again. The machine you buy is actually the cheapest part of the whole process, right? Because you're only going to buy that machine one time. So once you purchase the machine, is done, now you're going to need to purchase the things to actually use the machine. So if we're going with the Cricut, let's go. You're going to need cutting mats, you're going to need vinyl, you're going to need blanks, you're going to need, SVGs or PNGs, you're going to need files to actually, use the machine. You're going to need a computer. You're going to need, in some cases, a printer. You're going to need space. You're going to need a way to organize those things. And all of those things are continuing costs, right? So with shirts, for example, once you've made a shirt, you're going to want to make another one. Once you've made a tumbler, you're going to want to make another one. And 10 times out of 10, if it's your first time trying a craft, the first time is rare that it's perfect the first time. And so, even if you see a slight error, you're going to want to try it again, which means you need more blanks. So in the grand scheme of things, as you're crafting, the machine you buy is actually the cheapest part of that process because it's a one-time thing. And that's why I suggest getting the best. I don't suggest getting a bundle. You don't need a bundle, right? Because with a bundle, is most of the time, if you purchase a bundle, it's going to come with that brand's vinyl, that brand's cutting mats, that brand's tools. And if you don't really like those tools, you don't really need them. So I don't ever suggest getting a bundle. I do suggest getting the best quality or best version of that machine, and then purchasing the materials or the blanks that you need as you go, and get them separately. All right, let's move on to tip number 4. Tip number 4, as you get started crafting, please know that one blank will never be enough. So let's just say you are ready to get started with making your very first t-shirt. I would not suggest going to the store to get one t-shirt, because if you make a mistake on that t-shirt, you're going to have to go back to the store and get another t-shirt. Now, that doesn't mean that t-shirt is trash, because you could still use that for testing out other materials and, trying things out. I don't suggest throwing it away right away. However, I do suggest having multiple blanks so that, as you're learning, as you're practicing, as you're getting better at your craft, you have the blanks readily available. So that's my tip number 4. Tip number 5. There's more than one way to do just about everything. And just because you're watching someone make a tutorial and they say, oh, this is the way to do it, be careful about that. This is the way to do it. Reset your mind to hear this is one way to do it. Because yes, there is their way of doing it. You might be watching one of my tutorials and I've shown you a way to sublimate a mug in the Cricut mug press, or sublimate a tumbler in a tumbler press. That is one way to do it. That doesn't mean that's the only way to do it. And you have to use my exact settings and my exact measurements and my exact time and temperature. You will find that the time and temperature settings are really just a starting point. Okay, so don't get so caught up on, I did mine exactly how you did it and it didn't turn out the same way. There are so many variables that could go wrong that will have you feeling like, oh, what did I do wrong? I messed up. I'm a failure. I failed at this. It doesn't mean you failed at anything. It just means that there are variables. even if we're using the same machine, there could be variables with the machine, okay? Because the machines are man-made, okay? So just know, to reset your mind when someone says this is the way to do it, reset, change that this is the way to do it to this is one way to do it. All right, let's move on to the next tip. Okay, I think this next tip kind of goes right along with the previous tip that I just shared about time and temperature settings. When you purchase blanks, the time and temperature settings that come along with those blanks are based on, whoever made them and what they tested out. So if, let's just say they're sublimation blanks, and the person who has tested the material, they use 400 degrees for 60 seconds. And you got the material and 400 degrees for 60 seconds burned your material, right? And that would mean that time and temperature is either too hot or the time is too long. So you would have to adjust. Use the time and temperature settings that come along with your blanks as a starting point. When you are in Cricut Design Space, for example, they will give you, recommended cut settings. Use those as a guide, but those are not these are the right settings. These are suggested settings, right? So just know that as you go along, you're going to find the time and temperature for, different materials that will work for you. And when you do, you will write those down in your craft journal. All right, let's move on to our next tip. Tip number 7. You will make the most mistakes when you have the least amount of time. So if you are, a person who is normally pressed for time, or you typically wait until the last minute, make sure that you don't do that when you have something very important to make, or you're making something that has a deadline, or something for someone who has placed an order with you. Because if you're down to the wire with time, that is when you are going to make mistakes that you've never made before, ever, right? You've made that design 10 times and now someone has placed an order for it and the order is due tomorrow. You're going to make mistakes, okay? So don't put yourself in that position when the thing that you're making is not necessarily for you. If it's for an order or if it has a deadline, don't put yourself in a position where you're going to be rushing and you run the risk of running out of time, because you're going to be putting a hardship on yourself that you don't have to. All right, let's move on to tip number 8. Well, actually, these last few tips both of these tips have to do with sales. So number 8, personalized items will sell faster than anything else. So if you think, you're ready to go into sales and you have decided you're just going to download files from Creative Fabrica or Design Bundles, or things that you found in Cricut Design Space or Leonardo Design Studio, and you haven't done any kind of personalization to the item, and anybody else can make that same exact thing because it's a standard file, just know that those things will not, sell as fast as something that has someone's name on it. Think about my name, for example. My name is not very popular. I'm never going to be able to walk into a gas station and see my name on a keychain, right? If I want to see my name on something, I'm either going to have to place an order from someone who knows how to personalize, or I'm going to have to make it for myself. So just know that if you can personalize an item, it's more likely to sell. All right, the next tip regarding sales, you might be asking yourself, how will I know when I'm ready to go into sales? And I think that's a fair question, because, if you've gotten into crafts and you've really perfected a thing, you really know how to make that thing, this is how you will know. This is my suggestion, how you'll know when you're ready to go into sales. You can base it on 3 things. Number 1, you can make the item by yourself. You don't need anybody to help you make it. You don't need any advice on how to make it. You don't need to know what materials you need. You know how to make the item completely 100% by yourself. Number 2, you know who your market is, right? So you have decided you're ready to go into sales and you have a market. Maybe your market is, young girls. Maybe your market is older women. Maybe your market is for men. Maybe your market is for guys. Maybe your market is for dog owners. Maybe your market is for, I don't know, who insert a group, right? You know who you are targeting your sales to. And then number 3, you have a way to promote the item, right? So if you have a design that you've created, or you have a shirt that you're making, or even if it's something like, right now what's really popular is those clack fans, right? You have a demographic of people, or you have a way to get your product out there to others who might want to purchase from you, then I would say definitely you are ready. You know how to make the thing by yourself, and you know exactly who you're going to sell it to. Please know that your family, that those are not going to be the people who you sell to the most, because most of the time with family, from my experience, your family is going to want things for free or at a really, 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 really deep discount. And even you'll find that some friends, they want a discount also. And those same friends will order quickly from Etsy without the thought of getting a discount. They're not going to look at you in that same way. They want a discount because you're friends. All right. So my last and final piece of advice regarding sales: if you are ready to get into sales and you're not sure about how to price your products, my advice about that is to look at the going rates in your area, because every area is not the same. Also, think about if you're adding that personalization to your item. And I really do suggest checking online. Look at the going rate for that same item on Etsy or other online markets. Like if it's going right now for $25 on Etsy and it's a popular thing, are you selling yours for that same price? Are you in that same price range? Are you, pricing yours too high or too low, depending on how long it takes you to make that item? So don't put so much thought into it that you it takes me a long time to make this. Just because it takes you a long time to make it doesn't mean it takes someone else that long to make it. So kind of, look around, look and see what the going rate is for that item before you decide to, sell yourself short or try to price your stuff too high. Hopefully you have found this helpful. If you did, please remember to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell for notifications, because I do upload new content every single week. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thanks for watching. Bye.